Hello, welcome to episode 43 of the Fishy Fitness Coaching Podcast. 44. I will get it right one day, don't worry. Episode 44 of my podcast. Hope you are good and thank you for listening. So this podcast, I'm going to talk about the types of foods you can and should be eating on a fat loss phase. So if you're trying to lose body fat, what sorts of foods should you be eating? I think there's still some confusion in the world of fitness nutrition about the foods that you can and can't eat, or should and shouldn't eat more of, so that's one of the most common things which come up when I bring on new clients. It's the confusion of, I'm not sure what to eat. I'm not sure what to eat. I'm not sure what foods I should be eating. I'm not sure what's, there's so much out there which says don't eat this, eat this. You can have that, but not this. This is good for fat loss. That's not good. This is going to cause you to gain weight, but this will help you lose fat. All these different things. So yes, there is lots of confusion. So hopefully this podcast will shed light on that confusion. And just to clarify, this is for if you are trying to lose body fat. And so hopefully once I've explained it, you'll understand that this can be useful for a fat loss phase and a building phase and just life in general. So the first thing we need to understand is that all food contains energy, so calories. And some foods contain more energy than others, and some foods contain more nutrients than others. There are some foods out there, like the ultra-processed, highly palatable foods, really tasty foods, which contain lots of energy, but have next to none nutrition. And there are foods out there which have lots of nutrition and also lots of energy. And also you get some foods with low amounts of energy, as well as low nutrition. So that's one thing to sort of think about. So if I don't think about fat loss for now, we just think about general health. A good sort of rule of thumb, and it's sort of common sense, isn't it, really, that to be healthy, we need to consume foods which contain lots of nutrition. So, and these types of foods are usually, more often than not, healthy, like whole natural foods. So single ingredient foods which are natural. Okay, so things like lean meats and potatoes and fish, vegetables, fruits, beans, pulses, legumes, that kind of thing, right? Everything. So food which is natural, these will contain the most nutrients because nothing's been done to them. They haven't been nothing's been re-added to them or taken away. So they come in their sort of purest form. So we want, just from a health standpoint, we want to make sure most of our diet comes from these foods, so we get the most nutrients. So that's the first point. That's even without even thinking about fat loss or building muscle. That's just from a general health standpoint. So most of your foods should come from those sorts of foods. So if we're trying to lose body fat, then yes, I would always say most of your foods should come from whole natural single ingredient foods, like I've just mentioned. But we also still need to focus on the amount of calories or energy we are consuming, because fat loss and fat gain comes down to energy balance, calories in versus calories out. So it's not really the types of foods you eat, it's the amount of calories you are consuming. So you can, like I've mentioned this before, you could eat nothing but Skittles or ice cream and you could still lose body fat, because only if you are consuming less calories than you're burning on average. If you do that, you'll lose body fat. However, that's not healthy. You're not going to feel good. You're going to feel pretty shit. You're going to feel tired. You're going to lose muscle tissue. You're just not going to perform optimally. You know, you're not going to. You're going to feel crap. You're not going to sleep well. You're not going to recover. So it would make sense to obviously eat healthy foods while controlling the amount of calories you are consuming. So the answer to this is really like, you can eat what you want. There shouldn't be any rules or any restrictions when it comes to you deciding what to eat, or you choosing what foods you should be eating. You can eat what you want. If people start telling you what foods you should be eating and what foods you should be staying away from, then that potentially can cause a bad relationship with food. And in worse circumstances, can cause eating disorders, which obviously, you know, is something you don't want to get involved with. So if we start to restrict foods, then that can cause a bad relationship with food, or poor relationship with food, which we don't want. We want you to have complete food freedom. We want you to understand exactly how energy balance works, the basics of nutrition, so you can make your own decisions when it comes to food. All right, so it's a case of understanding that you can have whatever foods you want, as long as they're healthy, they contain nutrition, they will help you with your general health goals, I suppose, help you keep healthy, and also as long as you are not over consuming your calories and you're eating within your means, your lifestyle, your goals. So the goal is fat loss. So obviously we need to find out your rough maintenance calories, which I've mentioned before. If you want to find out that, then you can go on to the link on my Instagram bio and download the Ultimate Physique Playbook, and then you'll have your own calorie calculator on there in one of the tabs, so you can have a play around and find out your rough maintenance calories. Once you get your rough maintenance calories, you'll need to take away a couple hundred calories from that number, and that's going to give you your, again, estimated calorie budget if you want to lose body fat. So, and it's as simple as you knowing what your calorie budget is, and then tracking your food, tracking whatever food you want into a tracking app like MacroFactor or MyFitnessPal or Chronometer, for example, and just making sure you don't go over your calorie budget. The problem occurs when you're consistently going over or consuming more calories than you're burning. That's when you start to gain body fat. So if you consistently burn more calories than you consume, you're going to lose body fat. So the foods that you should be eating, I mean, again, I'm going to reiterate, this should be whole, natural, single ingredient foods like lean meats. Lean meats, because obviously they're leaner, they contain less calories, but they're high in protein, and protein will satiate you. Protein has a higher thermic effect, which means it actually burns more calories while digesting, so it will help you create and sustain a calorie deficit. Not by much, by a little bit, not much. So lean meats are something I would highly recommend when it comes to deciding what foods you should be eating. So lean meats and fish, high in protein, low in calories, again, high in nutrition, and it will help you keep fuller for longer. Vegetables and fruits, again, very satiating. They contain less calories, but also they contain lots of nutrition, so help you keep healthy, help you get and keep healthy. That's something else I would highly recommend. Another very decent fat loss food is potatoes, again, because they are very satiating. They contain nutrients, fiber, and low in calorie, fairly low in calorie. If you can imagine a bowl of potatoes, like 100, I don't know, 100, 200 grams of potatoes, right? It's not many calories, but that's a lot of food, volume. So that will help fill you up. So if you're trying to lose body fat, potatoes are your friend. Like, it obviously depends on how you cook them, but you want to put them in an air fryer or boil them or roast them or something. I'd refrain from deep frying them because you're going to get lots of calories from the oil you use, which is why the potatoes in fish and chips, they're not exactly the most healthiest because they're fried in oil. And it's the oil which makes them very, very high in calories. It's not the actual potato itself, it's the oil that it's cooked in. So having said that, potatoes are very, very good for satiating you, and yeah, it's and they won't use up much of your calorie budget for the day. So vegetables, fruit, potatoes, things like beans, again, high in protein, will help satiate you. Lean meats and fish. It's kind of common sense if you think about it. It's just most of your food should come from healthy, whole, single ingredient foods. But try and stay away from, or try and not have too much of like the fatty cuts of meat, like, you know, fatty steaks, bacon, red meat. Lean mince is fine in moderation, but you don't want to be having too much of red meat for the sort of general health reasons, really. Tuna is another thing. Tuna, yes, it's lean, it's healthy, but again, cans of tuna contain some mercury, so it's probably best not to have too much of that. A couple of cans a week shouldn't be an issue. I wouldn't recommend having like a can of tuna every day, for example. So, yeah, and then most of your food should come from these sorts of foods. And I'm not telling you what you can and can't have. I'm telling you what foods you should probably have more of. I would also recommend including like the fun foods into your fat loss diet, because going weeks and months without like chocolate crisps and sweets, cake, whatever, it's tough. It's hard work, and you shouldn't feel guilty for wanting these foods, because they're designed for that specific reason. They're designed for you to want them. They are delicious. You know, it's not just the taste, it's the texture as well. They are very well made because they, like, the makers of these foods know exactly what makes food delicious. So it's completely normal for you to want these foods. So that's why you should have them still, but just in moderation. As long as they're all tracked, as long as they're within your calorie budget, you're absolutely fine. Just don't obviously have too much, because these delicious, highly palatable, ultra-processed foods are low in nutrition, but they're high in energy. So very easy to overeat, very easy to binge on, very easy to use up your calorie budget, which means it's quite easy to put on body fat if you have too much of these foods. It's not the actual foods itself, it's the amount of calories these foods contain. And then also, because there's no nutrition in these foods, you're not going to feel good. So you're going to want them more because you feel tired. So your brain's like, well, I'm feeling pretty crappy. I'm feeling tired. Let's have some more high sugary or high fat, high energy foods, which make you feel better because they taste amazing. It releases dopamine, you see. So it's all very clever. So don't feel bad about wanting chocolate, wanting crisps, and because they taste amazing. But just make sure you are disciplined enough to just make sure that have these foods in moderation, but track them. Make sure they're within your calorie budget. It's as simple as that. So if you ever hear from someone who tells you not to eat certain foods, just don't listen to them, because no single food inherently is bad. If you have too much of it, yes, it can cause problems, but having too much of anything can cause health issues. Dose makes the poison. That's a sort of a very popular saying. Even too much water, something that you need to survive, is dangerous for you. It's dangerous. It's bad for you. Too much of anything, too many bananas is bad for you. So these fun foods have in moderation. 80-20. Go for the 80-20 guidelines. So 80% of your diet should come from, and this is not just from fat loss, but for just general health, muscle building. 80% of your food should come from the whole natural single ingredient form or foods, and then 20% or whatever, 25%, 20% can come from anything else you wanted. Just make sure you track your foods and you don't go over your daily or weekly calorie budget. It's as simple as that. But just to summarize, there are foods which will help you along with your fat loss journey. Foods which will help keep you full, foods which will satiate you, keep you satisfied for longer, so you're less hungry. And if you're less hungry, you're going to potentially eat or consume less calories, which is what you need to do if you want to lose body fat. So vegetables, definitely. Lean meats, lean fish, potatoes. Soup is another good one. Soup is amazing for if you're on a fat loss diet because, again, it fills you up, low in calorie, contains lots of nutrients, lots of fibre, and yeah, lots of food volume. And you can just add in like bits of cooked chicken to your soup to make sure the protein intake is high enough. That's what I do now. Something I do for my lunch is just buy a carton of vegetable soup, microwave the whole thing, and then just add in loads of pre-cooked chicken, and then some seasoning, some herbs. Really good. Makes me, it fills me up for hours. Lots of protein, lots of food, and lots of nutrients. So I'd recommend soup. Again, smoothies, making your own smoothies. Protein smoothies, another good one because it fills you up. Lots of fibre, lots of protein. So that's another very good fat loss meal, I suppose, or food option. But the main take home here is knowing that you can have what you want. You can eat what you want. Just make sure that you are using common sense. Like eat healthy foods, but still don't restrict yourself from all the other delicious, nice stuff that you actually want. Allow yourself these foods. Allow yourself food freedom. You have unconditional permission to eat whatever you want. And trust me, with those guidelines, you will make your fat loss journey a lot easier, a lot more successful, a lot more long term. And there's no restriction, there's no food cravings, there's no binging, because you're allowing yourself to have whatever you want. And that's the most important thing. So yeah, hope that helps. Hope that makes sense. Any questions on that, please let me know. And I will leave it there, I think. I've covered everything. So I'll speak to you again next week for another episode. Have a good one. Cheers.